Ladies and gentlemen, greetings from Kemin AquaScience team. My name is Sugumar. I'm Regional Director for Kemin AquaScience South Asia Operations. On behalf of Kemin AquaScience Worldwide, I welcome you all for today's webinar. You all know well, Kemin is hosting series of webinars on aqua feed processing and feed milling in collaboration with the industry experts and in-house experts. So far, we have completed 2 webinars focusing on the aqua feed quality. Today, we are in the 3rd webinar, going to talk about how to improve aqua feed processing and quality through Kemin's popular solutions and programs. So to share the practical knowledge with us today, 2 experts from Kemin team. So I would like to introduce both of them. First, I would like to introduce Mr. Tom Verleyen from Belgium. Tom is a Global Director for Nutrition and Liquid Smart program. This is the program covers majority of the feed milling solutions. Tom joined Kemin and he is having more than 15 years experience. Currently, he is taking care of the global platform on nutrition and liquid smart. So Tom joined in Kemin in 2008. After that, he became a product planning and development manager, where he developed all preparations for Clostat, one of the active microbial products. 3 years later, Tom was promoted to a director for marketing, leading the product and technical services. So there he contributed a lot for Europe region. Tom graduated from a very popular University of Ghent in Belgium. So he completed his master's and PhD and business administration degree from Kellogg School of Management in Chicago. So welcome, Tom. Now I would like to introduce the second speaker, Ms. Vidya. Vidya is working as a regional technical manager for Kemin AquaScience team based in India. Vidya has a biotechnology background and she has more than 12 years of experience in the research and product development for aquaculture, especially in the molecular biology and biochemistry segments. So with this small introduction, I would like to invite Mr. Tom to take over the dais. Tom, please.
Welcome everybody to this webinar. It is our pleasure to share with you today some insights how to improve the aquafeed processing and quality. We know that you as an aquafeed producer are facing several challenges. On the one hand, you have to focus on your feed mill to make sure that the feed you're producing is produced in the most efficient way. And we know that every feed mill has certain KPIs in mind. And then on the other hand, you also have your customers who are looking for optimal feed quality and very long shelf life of aqua feed. So on first hand, these look like 2 parameters, 2 criteria, which are very difficult to combine into one solution. And today in this webinar, we will share you some thoughts how actually both the feed mill processing KPIs as well as the feed quality can be combined into one program and into one solution for all of you. If we first dive a little bit deeper into the production KPIs which every feed mill has, then we can define them in 3 levels. The first one is all about the pellet press productivity. Here we are speaking about the pellet press throughput for pelleting as well as for extrusion, also the energy consumption which the machines require, as well as the shelf life of the pellet die or the shaft during extrusion. On the second level, we can review the pellet quality characteristics. these refer towards the PDI, the pellet hardness, the levels of fines which are there in the process, as well as the water stability, which is very crucial for aqua feed. And then the third level is all about the nutritional and the safety aspects. Here we are thinking about starch gelatinization, but also to secure that the feed you are producing is clean, is safe, without pathogens, and also has a long shelf life. So if we look towards the relationship between the moisture level during processing and the pellet press efficiency and the pellet quality, so basically the KPIs which we just reviewed, then you see that there is a relationship. So here, when we speak about the moisture level during processing, it is not the final moisture level of the pellets which you are selling. It is really the moisture level which you are using during your processing. So here you see that there is a very clear relationship that as we are able to increase the moisture level during processing, during conditioning, during pelleting, that also the pellet quality characteristics will be improving. But we see that they are also reaching a certain maximum. And this maximum is depending from factory to factory, from operation to operation. Therefore, I didn't include any absolute values, but the overall philosophy is that the higher the moisture level during processing, the better the KPIs will be until you're reaching a certain maximum. So what we often see is that feed mills are operating in a very safe zone. Here it's the yellow, so it's the green zone, where the moisture level during processing is fairly conservative, is fairly limited. But actually, feed mills are missing a huge opportunity to move towards higher moisture levels during their processing. And as you are moving towards a higher moisture level during your processing, you're able to capture more benefits. And actually, this is what we want to introduce to you today, that by increasing the moisture level during your feed processing steps, you're able to capture more benefits of the KPIs which we just presented. So here we have to think about how can we close this moisture gap and how can we help you to take a bit, to go a bit beyond the conservative level and move towards a higher moisture level and capture more benefits for your processing. The way how we can do that is basically by a preconditioning step. I'm sure you all know the traditional conditioning step, where steam is being added towards the mesh feed to increase the moisture level. But in order to move towards these higher levels of KPIs, we have to install a preconditioning. So as the name more or less explains, preconditioning is a type of conditioning process prior to the traditional conditioner. And this preconditioning is actually taking place already in the mixer. So in the mixer, we have the opportunity to add some extra water in combination with a milling aid. And we are already making sure that the moisture level of the mesh feed in the mixer is at an ideal level so that once it moves into the next steps of the feed processing, we are able to capture more benefits. So as you see here, we speak about adding some additional water as well as a milling and a surfactant aid. And I will now explain you why this is so important. When I speak about adding some extra water in the mesh feed, I'm sure that several of you will say, this is just impossible. We cannot do that. It will create lumps in our production process. And you're absolutely correct that there is a big risk of adding just pure water into the process. And the reason is that water has a high surface tension. So you see here on this picture that a paper clip is able to float on water due to the surface tension of the water, which is holding the pressure together and avoiding the paper clip from sinking. And the same is true if you're just adding pure water onto the mesh feed, because basically the water will just create a layer around the mesh feed and it will not penetrate into the particles. And then of course, we create all kind of issues which most of you might have seen already upon adding pure water. The way to overcome it is actually by adding surfactants into the water. And these surfactants are reducing the surface tension of the water, and they allow the water to be penetrated and to be absorbed much faster and much more readily into the mesh feed. So you see that by adding water together with a surfactant, we are able to make sure that this water gets uniformly absorbed into the whole mesh feed particles. And this will bring us additional benefits on improved moisture retention, as well as starch gelatinization, and it will also help us to improve the pellet durability. So I just want to show you very visually what is the effect. So here you see a video from a microscope where on the bottom layer we have a feed particle and we are letting a droplet of water fall onto the feed. So you will see that if you just drop some water onto the feed, that it takes a very long time for this water to be absorbed, and even a majority of the water just remains on the outside layers. If you now look what is happening if the same volume of water together with a surfactant is applied onto the feed particle, you see that the feed particle is absorbing this water droplet almost instantaneously. This is due to the lower surface tension of the water, which allows it to be absorbed extremely fast by the mesh feed. Another advantage of having these surfactants is that they are also increasing the surface upon spreading. So we all know that if we are spraying some water onto a wall, for example, glass, or here this small Petri dish, that we see droplets of water which are on the surface. And the surface area which these droplets are able to cover is fairly limited. Now, if you spray the same amount of water which contains the surfactants, then you see that it allows these the water droplets to be spread out over a much larger surface area. So the contact angle is reduced and the water is spreading much more readily over the surface. So therefore, we have two great benefits. On the one hand, these surfactants will allow a faster penetration, and they will also secure that there is a larger coverage. So if you are able to bring these benefits towards the pelleting process, then we see that if we are able to start the pelleting process when the feed has a higher moisture level, then it will result in several benefits. The first one is that the pellet mill will be much more lubricated, so there will be less energy needed to pellet the feed or to do the extrusion. So there will be less energy needed in this process, and we can also increase the throughput. So in challenging times, when you have to produce a lot of feed, you can increase the throughput of the process. A second important parameter is that by increasing this moisture level, we are also able to promote a better starch gelatinization. And we all know how important starch gelatinization is. This was also mentioned in the previous webinars already, because starch gelatinization is really the key in order to improve your water stability, as well as increasing the durability of the pellets. And a third criteria is that through adding some extra water, we are able to avoid moisture losses, which can happen during the cooling and compensating what might be lost during the grinding process. So therefore, if we cover all these benefits, which we are seeing in our MillSmart program, then it is really a program where we are able to increase the profitability of the feed production process. You will see in the next slides that we are able to increase pellet quality, water stability, We are able to increase the throughput during your production process. Less energy will be needed, so there is a sustainability advantage, and also there will be less weight loss. So overall, this is a program which is giving a very good return on investment. You're investing $1 and you're getting multiple dollars back through an increased profitability of your process. Now, I'm sure that you already have some questions in mind, and one of these questions will be, if we are adding some extra water and you're doing this preconditioning which you are proposing, will that result in some extra risks for our feed to become moldy? And we know that aqua feed is very sensitive for mold growth, and this is an important criteria for our customers. Now, actually, I can really reassure you on this. There is no risk for additional mold growth. And actually, there are 3 reasons why we can explain this. The first one is that the final moisture level, which you aim to achieve in your pellets, is all depending on your cooler conditions. Whatever we have been describing till so far is really how you can optimize the processing till your pellet process. Whatever is happening in the cooler is your decision. So you still can cool the feed up to the moisture level you desire and which you need for your process and for your customers. Secondly, is that in this process, we are adding a mold inhibitor in combination with a surfactant in the beginning of the process. And this mold inhibitor will secure that the feed will be protected during its final shelf life. So this is really an advantage that we are able to get some benefits of this mold inhibitor, which is already added in the beginning together with the surfactants and the water, to give you some benefits on the milling efficiency, while still giving you all security that the feed will be protected during its shelf life. And the third, but not least, very important criteria is that liquid mold inhibitors have a higher efficacy compared to dry mold inhibitors. And this is where also I want to stress some extra words with you. So if we looked towards some of the surveys recently carried out across the world, where we asked different aquafeed producers if they are facing mold risks during the year, then you see that the feedback of almost 200 respondents is that they are confirming that almost in half of the cases, they are seeing issues with molds during the shelf life, and you get, there are customer complaints on moldy feed. So it already confirms that the current aqua feed as such is not well enough protected, and there is a need for adding more mold inhibitors. Now, the majority of the aqua feed producers we know are adding dry mold inhibitors. And I just want to challenge your thoughts that a liquid mold inhibitor will offer much more benefits compared to a dry mold inhibitor. With a liquid mold inhibitor, you have the advantages of an automated application. So there is less manual labor involved. You will have an excellent distribution in the feed. There will be also a greater technical efficacy. There will be less labor needed for the people handling it. And we also know that some of the dry mold inhibitors can be very pungent and aggressive to the factory people. There will be less volume to transport. And overall, there will be less waste. There will be less waste in packaging because the liquid mold inhibitors, the cans can be reutilized. So we see that the liquid solution offers many advantages and is a very cost-effective solution. The reason why a liquid mold inhibitor has a higher efficacy compared to a dry one can be easily explained. Assume, for example, that you're adding 1 kilogram of dry mold inhibitor. Then if you calculate the number of particles, which is present in 1 kilogram of product, we reach around 3.7 million particles. This is already a large quantity, but it is just a small fraction if you compare it to the number of particles which a liquid mold inhibitor can bring. Through the use of some good nozzle technology, 1 kilogram of liquid mold inhibitor will give you 162 million particles. So this is a huge difference in the number of particles which a liquid molten emitter can bring. And therefore, a liquid molten emitter will have a much better distribution. We don't want to argue that a dry molten emitter will not be homogeneously mixed into your feed. It will absolutely be mixed homogeneously, but it's just a number game. A liquid molten emitter has much more particles, and therefore we will be able to secure that every particle will be secured, will be guaranteedly treated with some molten emitter. So therefore, if we just make this comparison between liquid and dry molten emitters, then we can almost argue that a dry molten emitter is an investment, and it only brings you some benefits with regard to feed safety. The way how we have been explaining you the MillSmart program today is also using a liquid molten emitter in combination with some milling efficiency, and therefore you are capturing milling efficiency benefits, you're gaining money through a better feed production, and at the same time, you're also having your feed safety and mold control. So basically, feed safety comes at a zero or at no cost for the feed mill. As temperatures are increasing right now, and we're all moving in towards summer, I'm sure that some of you might have heard questions in the factory. These dry molten emitters, they really have a pungent smell. We are receiving some complaints from our factory people when they have to handle these dry molten emitters. Now, these liquid molten emitters, they are neutralized from odor. So they are also sprayed automatically. So therefore, there are no complaints from factory people. They are very safe to handle, and also they will not damage the equipment. So you see there are many advantages for a liquid molten emitter to be used. I just want to show some final data on the efficacy. And here you see some tests which were carried out in our laboratory. And without going into details, you see that here we compared a dry molten emitter versus a liquid molten emitter, and you clearly see that the efficacy, the way how the liquid molten emitters are able to inhibit the mold growth is significantly higher compared to what a dry molten emitter can obtain. So in summary, I hope that we were able to give you some insights during this webinar that the MillSmart program can bring you two advantages. On the one hand, you can capture some feed milling benefits. We are able to support your feed mill KPIs. And on the other hand, you are able to secure that the feed you are producing has an optimal quality, and all your customers will be happy that there is no mold growth of the aqua feed. With this, I would like to hand over the floor to my colleague Vidya, so she can also explain you in some more details the results which we are obtaining in practice. Please, Vidya.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you for explaining about the principles and benefits of MillSmart program. Based on the same concepts, the Kemin has various solutions which are customized for the customer need. Here you can see we have MicroCub AW liquid, AquaCub LQ. Both of them are liquid-based anti-mold agents together with the surfactants, which helps in not only increasing the mill efficiency but also help in the protecting the feed against the molds. We also have solution of Penacon, which is helps in the moisture retention together with increasing the mill efficiency. Moving on.
You should be able to, yeah.
Yeah, we have done two case studies. First one was done in fish feed, which was extruded fish feed. And second case study was done in shrimp feed, which was pelletized shrimp feed. The first one, the type of feed used for the trial was extruded floating fish feed. The mixer batch was 1 metric ton and number of batches around 4. And throughput currently during the trial, it was around 3 TPH, that is ton per hour. And the current moisture of the feed was 10%. We had targeted a moisture of 11%. We had checked the shelf life of the feed, that is the stability and mold, for 3 months. And the product used for the trial was microcub AW liquid. These are the groups. The control group had 10% moisture and it used a competitor dry mold inhibitor. In the treatment group, we used 1 kg per ton of microcub AW liquid together with 10 kg of moisture addition per ton of feed. These are the results. You can see around 0.5% increase of moisture retention in the treatment group compared to the control group. Even during the conditioner itself, we can see that due to the better surfactants effect, the feed is able to retain the moisture well. Coming to the water activity, we actually target a water activity of 0.72 AW, which is the levels considered to be safe. More than this, the free water is more and the mold growth is also increases. Moving on to the starch gelatinization, as we know that once the water penetrates well into the feed, it is able to cook well. Once the cooking is well, the starch is able to form a gelatinization, that is a kind of gel kind of structure results, and this increases the nutritional capacity of the feed. So that also we can see around 3.8% increase in the treatment. Due to the better starch gelatinization, there is also an increase of water stability by 1%. So the WSI or water stability test is done for all the aquatic feeds, wherein the feed is subjected to water in static condition for around 60 minutes. So moving on to the milling efficiency and energy savings, we can see around 0.6 TPH increase in the throughput increase. That is the extra feed which was able to be milled. And we also saw an power consumption decrease in the treatment group by 1.5 kilowatts per ton. These are the key performance indicators. As Tom had explained earlier, the KPI is a quantitative measurement of the benefits which we are giving to the customer when he or she is using a product. So here we measured in terms of recovered feed, the energy savings and the production cost saving due to TPH increase, and also leaching saving because the WSI has been better. So the gross profit for this trial was around $14.36. So for each dollar spent by the customer, he gets a ROI of $5. That's the return on investment for this trial. Moving on to the second trial. This was carried out in shrimp feed, and the type of feed is pelleted feed. A mixer batch size was 1 metric ton and number of batches were 3. The current throughput was 3 THP and the current moisture was 10%. We had targeted a 11% and expected a shelf life of 3 months. The product used for this trial was microcub AW liquid. These are the groups. The control group had a completer dry mold inhibitor together with 10 kg moisture. In the treatment, we can see we used 1 kg of microcub AW liquid together with 10 kg of moisture per ton of feed. So here also we can see in the moisture retention, there was a 0.4% increase in the moisture retention in the treatment group during the bagging, and also during the conditioning we can see the moisture is retained well by the treated feed. Coming to the mill efficiency and energy saving, there was an increase of 1.3 THP per hour, that is around 1.3 tons of feed was milled extra per hour, and decrease in energy by 12.6 kilowatts per ton. These are the KPI for this trial. We can see that for this trial, we measured recovered feed, energy saving, and also production cost saving. And gross profit of around $19.95 was seen in this trial. And we calculated the ROI. It came around for each $1 the customer spent, it was $8 in return. We also carried out various trials across the globe. You can see in Mexico, in India, also in Thailand and Vietnam, in China. Each time the ROI was around not less than 1:2. So these are the benefits of MillSmart program. I just wanted to re-emphasize what Tom had said. It increases the process efficiency, increases the productivity of the feed mill, increases the profitability and also pellet quality in terms of water stability index. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Vidya. It is a very easily understandable presentations and all the slides are very clear. So I would like to pass on few questions which raised by the participants. Okay, let me go through one by one. Okay, maybe Tom, if you want to answer this one, what is the standard level of moisture in the floating fish feed?
The moisture level, we have to be careful on the moisture level to make sure that it's not becoming moldy. So therefore, standard moisture. So if you are adding a multimeter, then the moisture level can be increased. Of course, it also depends on the shelf life you have in mind. But certainly a moisture level between 10.5 to 11% in combination with a good mold inhibitor can be guaranteed.
Okay, thank you, Tom. There is a question related to this. Just a minute. To maintain the right moisture level during the pelleting process, which one is the better way? Either adding water in the wet mixer or increasing the steam quantity in the conditioner?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Now, the amount of steam which can be added is of course also limited, and generally that is already a standard process which you are doing. The advantages, of course, adding steam has certain limitations. So therefore, with this process, we are able to make sure that we can do a preconditioning and make sure that the moisture level is already higher. You're still adding the same amount of steam and you're capturing the benefits. So this is a more beneficial process.
Okay, I think this question is related to the water and moisture and the mold contamination. It is known that higher moisture level will increase water activity of the feed and pose risk to the microbial contamination. So working with moisture level lower than the optimal should remain beneficial to the manufacturers. So why are we focusing on working with optimizing the moisture level? So Tom, can you explain?
Can you repeat, please?
I will repeat the question.
Yeah.
The question is that actually we are saying that the water activity is lower, it is good. So already the manufacturers are achieving the lower water activity and feed is safe. Why should we increase the water activity is a little bit high and we should worry about the microbial contamination?
Yeah, of course, it's up to the choice of each feed mill to define which level they feel comfortable with. Now, we just want to bring to your attention that yeah, if you are able to increase the moisture level in the beginning of the process, you're able to capture benefits on better throughput, better pellet quality, better starch gelatinization. And these are the benefits you can capture by doing this preconditioning process. So, yeah, if you don't install such a process in your mill, then you are letting go certain dollars, and you're not optimizing your final operational outcome.
Okay, so that means, Tom, you are saying that there is a big room for improvement for the plant efficiency, correct?
Absolutely, absolutely, yes.
Okay, understand. All right. There is one question from a participant. This maybe Vidya can answer. So when I produce the fish feed, so floating fish feed with a low starch in the formula, the fish feed is sinking after 5 minutes. That means they are making a floating fish feed with lower starch in the formula, but instead of floating, actually the feed is sinking. What is the reason? What are all the reasons for the floating fish feed not floating properly?
One of the important parameter for floating fish feed is cooking properly. When we compare the pelleting process and extrusion process for floating fish feed, it is important that the gelatinization happens properly, the starch gelatinization. When we are adding less starch, it also becomes more important that all of the starch is gelatinized properly and it puffs up because and once the feed puffs up properly, it can float. So I think they need to check the starch gelatinization percentage in their feed.
Okay,
That might be one of the reasons.
Yeah, thank you, Vidya. I think he mentioned clearly it is a low starch feed.
So low starch also we have to check whether all of the starch is properly gelatinized or not.
Okay, so all right. So then you can help us with another question. What is the optimal level of starch gelatinization in shrimp feed?
In the shrimp feed, during the pelleting process, the pelletized shrimp feed, around 50 to 60% is the percentage of starch gelatinization which we see normally. When the same shrimp feed is manufactured using extrusion technology, around 80 to 95% of starch gelatinization takes place because of higher temperature and pressure exposure to the starch molecules. The gelatinization is better.
Okay, thank you, Vidya. I think this question to Tom. Tom, what is the typical extra production cost by adding microcarb liquid in the feed? So how much the customer has to pay more, and what is the benefit they are getting?
Well, that's a very good question. Now, I believe that we don't have to speak about a cost. We have to think about what are the profits the mill can make. So therefore, we are very confident that with our program, we are able to offer you a very interesting return on investment. So for $1 you're investing in the mold inhibitor, you are able to get $3 to $4 or $5 back. And I'm sure that our local commercial team can follow up with you on the pricing, on the exact pricing were relevant.
Okay, so that means you are saying that even the additional cost they are investing, actually it will be compensated and given back the returns in terms of better milling efficiency and mold inhibition.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, thank you, Tom. I think, Tom, you can answer this question as well. Does a mold inhibitor will not interfere with the organism growth in the feed? Oh, sorry, let me rephrase this question. So we are saying that the organic acids or the mold inhibitors is interfering the organism in the feed. So what will happen if the same organic acids go into the gut and affect the beneficial bacteria in the gut of the animals?
Yeah, indeed, there will be a residual effect of these organic acids. Generally propionic acid is a very small molecule and can be easily absorbed and be metabolized. So the impact of the propionic acid onto the gut microflora will be really limited. And I'm sure that there are other products which have a much better effect on the gut flora. The objective of the propionic acid, which is used into the molten for the mold inhibition, is really to make sure that we are protecting the feed. The impact on gut health will be almost negligible.
Okay, okay. Thank you, Tom. I think this question I want to pass it to Vidya. When we use surfactants for the milling aid, so after that the feed will be given to the animal in the pond. Will the surfactant leach the rest of the surfactant leach into the pond and then affect the dissolved oxygen concentration?
Thank you for the question. The surfactants used for the milling aid is very less. As Tom was explaining, just like organic acids, the surfactant concentration used in the product only will help for the milling efficiency. It will have no effect on the pond health.
Okay, thank you, Vidya. This is another general question. Rather than creating artificially made nutrient feed, that means currently what we are feeding, instead of feeding the current type of feed, can we go for natural feeding, like natural cell proteins feeding, natural live feed to the aquaculture? So why it's not happening? Vidya can answer that.
The natural feedings is one of the techniques which is being followed by many of the farmers around the world, but it is not very successful as due to the FCR and ease of feeding, the ease of application and growing their own natural feed due to manpower shortage and everything is a issue. But I think if someone is ready to experiment that and go fully organic with natural feed, that can be done.
Question also to Vidya, how to check the starch gelatinization? Is there any approved procedure available?
Yes, yes, there is a procedure for starch gelatinization. What we do is that the same material, the raw materials used in the for the feed preparation is cooked artificially in the lab when it is exposed to high degree temperature, and it is cooked for longer period of time, so that the whole of the starch present in the feed is converted to and gelatinized fully, and then the starch gelatinization is checked. It is taken that as 100%, and then we check the same procedure for starch gelatinization, the starch percentage in the uncooked, that is uncooked feed, and also after the pelletization or extrusion. The difference between this, the lab condition and the feed mill condition, gives us the difference, the percentage of starch gelatinization. Was it clear?
Yeah, thank you, Vidya. Because participants cannot speak to you, so I am representing them because of the software, the Zoom software. Can we control that? This question to Tom. Tom, can we control mold at the moisture level of feed 11.5 to 12%? If we maintain that level, can we still control the mold in the feed?
Absolutely. So we just have to understand that molds need nutrients, moisture, and temperature for their growth. So we can control the growth of the molds, even also when very high moisture level is used. Just to give you an example, we have some customers who are storing high moisture grains, high moisture corn, high moisture barley with 16, 17, 18% moisture for a very long time. 6 months, 9 months. And the reason why they are able to do it is because they are adding a very high level of mold inhibitor. So in order to answer this question, we are very happy we are very open to work with you to define what moisture level you desire, and also which amount of mold inhibitor is needed. I want to introduce also our laboratory services here in this discussion, where we can do some simulations in our laboratories to make sure that we can fine tune the exact amount of mold inhibitor you need to secure that the shelf life is being met at your desired moisture level.
Okay, thank you, Tom. Maybe Vidya can answer this question. What are all the parameters we need to focus when we do the self-life study of the feed with the mold inhibitors for 2 months, 3 months, something, the different time period with respect to physical, chemical, and biological side of the feed?
Yes. For evaluating the stability of the feed, we check for
Yes.
carbon dioxide evolution studies we do, and
Okay.
actually the feed can be stored at, one is normal room temperature and another is accelerated conditions. Accelerated conditions we can store at increased temperature with high humidity. So humidity and temperature can be a varying factor. So uh, based on the conditions required by the customers, we can actually do the studies in room temperature and increase moisture and increase temperature also. High temperature, high moisture, low temperature, high moisture, and at room temperature. This actually helps them to evaluate how their feed will behave in coming months or during varied conditions. So we do a carbon dioxide evolution test, because if the fungal spores are formed in the feed, the feed is actually locked in a airtight containers, and which are checked from on weekly basis or once in 15 days for carbon dioxide evolution. So that gives an indirect measure of how much fungal spores are formed in the feed. So that's how we check for the fungal contamination and stability of
Okay.
the feed.
Okay. Another question to Tom. Does mold inhibitor affect the bacteria which are available in the pond water?
No, the amount of mold inhibitor which we are typically adding is too low to affect something in the pond.
Okay. Okay, there is a question Vidya can answer regarding the trial. So what is the moisture retention after 30 days? After 30 days of the trial in the treatment group with microcurb AW liquid?
Yes. So our aim is not only to check at the bagging, but also we do check over a period of 3 months. So once in 15 days, we check for moisture, and we have seen that all the trials we are able to retain the moisture for a period of 3 months. We are having the data with us.
Okay, Vidya, can you repeat your answer, because I could not be able to get it.
Sir, we actually check for a period of 3 months, once in 15 days. We do check for the moisture retention, just like at bagging, even at conditioner, bagging, and after bagging, the feed is stored at the customer place in the godown itself in real time condition, so that from the bag itself, once in 3 months, we retain the bags in those condition itself at same elevation. We check the temperature and moisture every day, and once in a week we take the samples from the bag and we check for the moisture. This has been done for all the trials. We are having the data, and what we have found is that use of our products, we are able to retain the moisture for over a period of 3 months.
Okay. What about the mold count during these studies?
We also check for mold count and water activity, because water activity is directly related to the mold count and moisture retention also. So these two are also checked, both at customer place. Any trial, we actually involve the customer also, so that we are in same page. So all the samples are analyzed by the customer and also by the Kemin's technical and CLS team.
Okay. Thank you, Vidya. We have so many questions lined up. So maybe I will take another two questions. The rest of the questions we will prepare the answers, and then that will be shared with you like we have done for our earlier webinars. Okay. This question is to Tom. Tom, when we add the surfactants in the extruder during the feed manufacturing process, does it add more moisture to the extruder machine?
Only adding this pure surfactants.
No, because we are adding along with the dilution
Indeed,
with the
yeah.
water.
Yeah, indeed. So adding pure surfactants will not have any effect. It needs to be added in the mixer. And we have done trials where, for extruded feed, where we were able to see benefits upon adding 3 to 4% extra water together with the surfactants. We're able to give extra benefits on extrusion, absolutely.
Okay. Tom, this is the last question for this webinar. Most of the times customers make the final feed with less moisture, less than the standard, maybe 11 or 10, but still, and they are using some mold inhibitors, but still they are getting fungal problem, mold problem from the customer side, the farmer side. So how to control this? What is your advice?
Yeah, well, I just want to give you the clear confidence that a good mold inhibitor and a good process can absolutely secure a very long shelf life. Just to make the comparison, pet food is also having a very long shelf life, is also in small bags, and pet food can have easily a shelf life of 12 months or longer without becoming moldy. So the secret is really to make sure that you're balancing the right moisture level in combination with the right mold inhibitor. So I'm sure that if you are facing some challenges, then our team would be more than happy to discuss with you and see how we can help you to make sure that your feed is optimally secured and protected against molds.
Okay, thank you, Tom, and thank you, Vidya, for your knowledge sharing. It was very useful for our participants. So to conclude today's webinar, I would like to thank each and every participant. So you will be getting the copy of this talk through email, or our marketing team will reach this PowerPoint to you. So in Kemin, we try to add more value to our customer business by sharing the knowledge from within the company and also from the external experts. So we continue to conduct more webinars. Please join us in a series of webinars. We have one more webinar lined up in the aqua feed milling. So that is talking about the whole engineering side of the aqua feed milling. So once again, I would like to thank each and every participants for your time. Thank you very much. Bye.